expecting Brian will be in a little bit, well, if not in the next couple minutes. We did get confirmation that he was going to join today, so hopefully he'll be joining us shortly. So I'd like to call this meeting together, and I have an adoption of the agenda. Of the agenda for the December 8th, 2020 Township Wellington North Rec Park and Leisure Committee meeting be accepted and passed. Dan, do you want to move that?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Okay, I will second that, and I'll call for a vote. I can't see you, Dan, but I'll take a verbal yes or no.
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right, we are in meeting. I do not have any pecuniary interest. Do you, Dan?
No.
All right, thanks. You have the minutes of the previous meeting, and they were approved by our council meeting and back in November. Is there any business arising from those minutes? I don't have any. Councillor Yake?
No, none from me.
And welcome, Brian. How are you doing today?
Morning, fellas. Good.
I'll just go back and ask if you have any pecuniary interest on this agenda.
No, I'm good.
Great, thank you. We will move right into the ICIP COVID resiliency stream found on page 4, and I'll pass it over to you, Matt.
Yep. Thank you, Chair McCabe. And yeah, so when we met last time, staff put forward some thoughts as it relates to what the COVID stream might be as it relates to ICIP. We sort of feel that things have changed. There's been more guidance given by the government as far as what projects would be successful, and specifically a limit to what the grant application looks like. So that has allowed staff to go back and put forward a different recommendation, and specific to what's in your package. There's choker lanes and there's Arthur sidewalks as it relates to the connecting link. I would suggest that in addition to that, we need to add the Eastview Drive sidewalk, but then the other opportunity is that there's sort of 5 projects that have been detailed within this report that I can go through that I think this committee needs to discuss as it relates to, what we put forward as a township. So if you'd like, and I can, Chair McCabe, I can go through the 5 projects, and then the 3 members of the committee can debate it if that sounds reasonable, or if there's any questions right now, I can handle them.
Yeah, I think why don't we go through the the possible options there, Matt, and then we can discuss them and see which way we can go. No sense in leaving money on the table. So. Yep.
So the first one, again, these are just 5 in no particular order, is the Campbell Dever Park playground upgrade, which is Cork and Princess Street, the northwest corner. It's an estimated cost of $100,000. I will say that staff is working through a RFP that just closed on Friday related to the Optimissus Park. So we'll better understand kind of if that's an appropriate cost estimate. Oh, sorry, can you hear that or no?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So we'll better understand if $100,000 makes sense, but I think right now we think that kitchen and storage upgrade in the Arthur Community Center, that's at $140,000. So that would see an upgrade to the kitchen in the lower hall in Arthur, but it would also rejig the storage area that's to the west of the kitchen to allow us to better store tables. Generator install in Mount Forest, I think everything is set up for that project. It's just a matter of we have been trying to pursue funding for that. The Mount Forest and District Sports Complex gets used as a
emergency.
Yep, emergency sort of storage area for people. So that's one. accessible washroom in Arthur in the area community center. So that would be on the lower hall side. And then the choker and sidewalk upgrades for the Arthur Connecting Link project. I think as staff, we really feel that's the right way to go, but the number is 42,500 instead of 47,500, and that's a mistake on my part. So I think really the debate for committee is between the 4 projects, and as staff, I think they all have merit. So that's kind of where I would leave it with you, Chair McCabe.
All right, I'll open the floor to any questions that Councillor Milne or Councillor Yake have. Then I'll jump in with a question after you guys are done.
Matt, did you say how much the generator project was?
Yeah, so the generator project, and this is more a legacy number, but is estimated at 160. I'm trying to refine that number, but to date, I don't have a better number, which again leads to my ask that Eastview gets thrown in the mix, because sidewalk projects are a part of the conversation. And if we could, I don't think we want to leave money on the table as a municipality, but 160 is what the number is for the generator at the Mount Forest Arena until further notice.
All right.
Matt, I was just wondering if you could clarify a little bit the choker lane project. You have 42.5, and then you have 50/50 township BIA. Is that 42.5? Is that 50% of the project, or is that okay?
Yep. Oh, so, and anyway, through you, Chair McCabe, sorry. But yeah, so the choker lane is a 47.5 project that's 50/50 between the township and the BIA. And then the sidewalks is a 37.5 project, like 37,500 project, 50/50 between the township and the BIA. So I think the want from staff is that we get $42,500 and we fund that project through this grant, and then the BIA supplies the 50%, the additional costs, as it were, the additional 50%. Hopefully that provided more clarity, but maybe not.
Well, yeah, the fog is starting to lift a little there, but it's not completely gone. Yeah, but that's good. Thank you.
Daniel?
You should get up in the morning, Mr. Milne.
I've been up for a lot longer than you have, likely. I got most of tomorrow's work done already today.
Good for you. Good for you. Matt, so we're making an application, and are we breaking this application into 2 projects, or we're just making one application and you're asking for one of these projects to be included in that application? Is that correct?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep. And Adam might be able to help me on this question, but I think it's going to be one application, but we're able to apply for different components to that application.
Okay.
But through you, Chair McCabe, I would defer to Adam, he probably understands that process a lot better than me.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Chair McCabe. Yeah, through this particular stream, it's a little bit different in terms of the setup. The number of projects to which you could apply under this stream is contingent upon your allocation of dollars. And given that we were allocated the $199,000 and change, we're eligible to submit 2 projects. So within each of these projects, there are a number of different categories for which you can apply, the 4 of which are detailed within the report. So within this, you can apply for retrofits and repairs, COVID response infrastructure, active transportation, and disaster mitigation. So depending on which projects are identified as eligible for application through this committee, we will basically bundle the projects. So for example, the streetscape projects in Arthur would all fall within the active transportation infrastructure category. So should this committee choose other projects that fall within the active transport, we would submit one application as a bundled application. However, it was something like a park or something would fall within another category, we would have to submit 2 projects.
So the generator, would that go through disaster mitigation?
I think there's a couple of opportunities there. I think you could either do it as through a building retrofit or disaster mitigation.
Okay. Sorry, Dan, did you have your hand up there?
No, thank you, Adam, for that clarification.
So I guess we have to, as a committee, decide which ones we need to recommend to council. I'm pretty sure the choker lane, that's, and Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of a go ahead anyways.
Yeah, I think the choker lane and the Arthur connecting link sidewalks, in my opinion, aren't up for debate. The debate is between the 4 projects.
Yeah.
As it relates to parks.
And you're saying that number for the generator, it does seem a little bit high, and I know you've been working on getting that kind of refined a bit.
Yeah, I think for Kenilworth, which Kenilworth wouldn't have as much load, but Kenilworth, I think we're in the neighborhood of $60,000-ish. So yeah, I'd like to better understand what a good number for the arena is. And again, that's kind of why I think giving a project that we could flex that's related to sidewalks, so it's something we're going to be applying for already, makes a lot of sense.
And we'd know before the January 7th deadline for the application, hopefully.
I've got calls in, and
So not to be a stickler, can we actually make a decision if we don't really have the number for that generator, or should we? Because I'd like to make a recommendation to council, because we have a council meeting on the December 14th.
Yeah, I would assume it's 160 then.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that then. Sorry, Dan. I think I did see your hand up this time.
All right. Just a comment then. So in regards to the Cork Street Park, I mean, that project, I mean, there's been ongoing discussions about the pool construction over in that general area. So, if that project happens to go, maybe upgrades or whatever at the park could happen at that time. So I think maybe that would come off my list right at the moment. The kitchen upgrades in Arthur, I mean, obviously always a good project to enhance our facility. We are spending some money down there in regards to the ice making system. Council decided to use reserves to try to upgrade that. So I guess, how much do we put in there all at once? The generator in Mount Forest has been, since the day it was built, Brian might be able to chime in here, but since the day it was built, has been kind of an ongoing issue. We discussed it at length at the time of construction. We decided that the infrastructure for a generator would be put in at the time, and I think most of that's there. But at the time, I think we were getting kind of tight on budget numbers, so it was decided to leave that out and that eventually be done. Now that's been 12 years, and we're still without it. And I think I do think it's an important part of the puzzle in regards to emergency management. So I do kind of support that. And then the sidewalk and choker lane, I think that what you're saying, Steve, it's pretty much it's an automatic here with the construction that's going to go on in Arthur. So if I had to put them in order, I would go with the generator first, sidewalk and choker lanes, and then the park and kitchen in Arthur at a later date. And I can't, what was the other one, Matt? It was accessible what? Sidewalks?
Washrooms.
Oh, washroom.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so I understand what you're saying, Member Yake, and I would only interject that the first two you're talking about, as far as the generator and then the choker lane and sidewalks for the Arthur Connecting Link project, my only ask would be that the next one be the Eastview sidewalk, because that gives us some flexibility as it relates to application. And maybe we don't even end up, if it's $160,000 for the generator, there's no money available for anything else. I think it allows the flexibility that staff can figure that out, but the first two, I understand what you're saying.
If we come back with a number that's not 160, what kind of numbers would you need for the Eastview sidewalks?
Yep, so the Eastview sidewalk went through the budget at $65,000. So
Okay.
I think that gives us, like I say, a lot of opportunity. And I think the choker lane could be defined as a sidewalk improvement as well, because that's what it is, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Brian.
I guess my comments would be similar to Councillor Yake's. Don't put that in the minutes. But I do recall having quite a lengthy debate during the building of the arena in Mount Forest about the generator installation. At the time, it was a large number to put that in there. And you're right, Dan, we were tight to the budget. But in hindsight now, we probably should have went and done it, because it would have been a lot less than 160. I don't remember the number at the time, but it was certainly less than that. But that said, the Cork Street Park upgrade, in my mind, speaks more to the issue of the pandemic, and that's, the stream of money that's coming to us. Because as people, as the lockdowns and all the rest of it, the restrictions on gathering and so on continue, the park any green space becomes more important. So that project appeals to me in that sense. But that said, if the arena is going to continue in your emergency management program, I guess, then you really should have that generator at the arena. So I could support either one of those projects.
So what I'm hearing from you both, and I'm in agreement with the generator in Mount Forest. I think it could be even more instrumental in our community up there as we go through this for damage mitigation. So I would put that as my number one, and I still like the idea of the Eastview sidewalk, just because the BIA is pretty well should be a done deal. And then I kind of like how you said, Dan, when we do if and when we do the pool over in Mount Forest, or when we do the pool, then we can hopefully upgrade the Campbell de Boer playground there as well. But I'm open to that discussion as well. So like what I was saying is the generator in Eastview sidewalks. And I know, Brian, you just said about the playground and the green space. What do you think about that, Dan? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's, it's, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. It's, I just think that generator project needs to be kind of at the top of the list.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Can I just ask a question of clarification? Is in fact the arena in Mount Forest, is it designated as a emergency? Like, is it a key piece of your emergency plan in Wellington North?
It's been used as a warming station, or has been open for a warming station, I believe, in the past. Adam, you might have a better answer than I have.
Through you, Chair McCabe, I'm not certain that it is designated within the actual emergency plan, but I do know it has been opened as a warming station in the past for those reasons.
Tom, do you want to chime in here as well? Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Go ahead, Tom.
For you, Chair McCabe, we do have agreements with our retirement homes in both communities, and I believe our nursing home. So yes, we are, and with our schools, that we are an emergency shelter.
So I guess my question would be, how could that happen if you don't have emergency power at the arena?
We've been lucky.
Go ahead, Karen.
The agreements that we have with the, and Tom's right, is the schools, Birmingham, and then we have some in Arthur at Arthur as well. But the agreements that we have with them are pretty clear that if it's a hydro outage, we have 20 minutes of power at that facility, which doesn't mean we don't use it as a warming center or that they might have to come there anyway. But if they do, they know that after 20 minutes, there's no more lights, we don't have a generator, and we have that same agreement in Arthur. And so we're not designated in our emergency plan, but Tom is very right. We do have agreements in place.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Chair and staff, because I would think if you're going to continue in that vein, and it makes a lot of sense to have the arena as a emergency center, gathering center, or whatever you want to call it in your emergency plan, that it really should have that genset in there. So that puts it at the top of the list for me.
Okay. So I guess what's your number two? My number two is Eastview, but again, kind of goes with you, Brian, just a little bit of, at least we can get people out walking on the streets and stuff like that. But go ahead, Dan.
I can go with Eastview too. I think it's we've talked in length various times in regards to the sidewalks that we have in both Arthur and Mount Forest, sidewalks that tend to go nowhere. And I think that, this may complete a nice portion of Eastview in regards to that. So, I mean, I can live with that. I wanted to ask a question, and I don't think maybe Tom might be the only one on the call, but that might remember this, but the Campbell DeVore Park, when it was developed with money donated from the Campbell DeVore family. I don't know if you remember that, Tom, but does anybody know, Adam? I don't know, you might know. Has all that money been spent, or was there money still available for upgrades to that park as it went into the future? Tom, do you remember that at all?
Go ahead,
I
Tom.
do remember there was money there for that. It predates me being with the township, but I believe you're correct. That land and the playground was all put in by the Campbell DeVore family.
Right. Okay. All right.
All righty. Excuse me. So if we're kind of in agreement, we're thinking that the generator in Eastview would be the kind of the asks for this. Do we need to change that resolution at all, Matt?
Hi, Chair McCabe, it's Mandy here.
Sorry, Mandy, go ahead.
Sorry, Matt has had some technical difficulties with his computer, so he's just trying to log back in. But yes, that resolution will need to be updated to reflect the direction that committee would like.
All right, so Karen, I'm going to ask you. Oh, you're already up on the screen. Good. So what we have in the agenda, how do we need to change that?
So is the motion been moved and seconded? No.
Not yet. No.
So before you get it on the floor, you will add, so I'm sorry, so the generator is at the top of your list? And what's the next project?
The Eastview sidewalks.
It's out of this list. Is it on the list in the report? There's Cork Street, Arthur Community Kitchen, the
No, I
generator.
don't believe it is on the agenda, the Eastview one. That was a suggestion from Matt.
Okay, so can you just, it's the Eastview, and what are we gonna do with that?
Sidewalk upgrade.
Sidewalk upgrade,
But
okay.
on Eastview Drive, sorry, folks.
There you go.
Computer, blue screen of death, that's what I call it, but.
So what I would do is just add that to the resolution. The resolution, I don't have it up here. So you will add and further that the generator in the Mount Forest Arena be designated as our first choice. And further that the Eastview Drive sidewalk extension, be recommended. You're recommending to,
So I would put that in the second part of that resolution.
Yep. Just a sec. So what you're gonna say is,
I'll say that first little paragraph.
you're gonna receive it for information, and you're going
Further that
to,
the generator in Eastview sidewalk upgrade
yes,
be designated for the application.
yeah, but put the clause in that the generator is your first choice, and then that the Eastview is your second.
Yeah, I think staff understand that as far as if the generator comes in at 160, then there's no dollars for anything really else other than the choker lanes and the sidewalk upgrades, so.
Okay,
All
so
right.
everybody's clear what you're voting on. You're voting on to complete the application, and your choices are, your preferred choices are the generator at the Mount Forest Arena and Eastview Drive sidewalk extension and upgrades.
Okay, let me try and muddle through this then. We'll get- I have a resolution here that the Rec Parks and Leisure Committee received for information report RPL 2020-023 being a report on the ICIP COVID-19 resiliency in infrastructure stream update. And further that as a committee, the generator is the first point of funding, followed by the Eastview sidewalk upgrade that they be applied for.
And that you're going to recommend to council that those are the ones. And
And then further that the Rec Parks and Committee recommend that the County of Wellington North direct staff to prepare a grant application for the generator in Mount Forest as our first choice and the Eastview sidewalk upgrades in Arthur
as our second choice, yeah.
as our second choice.
And we'll make it look pretty in the minutes, okay?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, and my only comment to that would be that the choker lane and the sidewalk upgrades to the connecting link project, we're just talking about after that as far as first and second, right?
I think so, but I think those are already going to be done through the BIA in the township.
Yeah, I think there's opportunity though that those go through a grant application, and that's the way they're funded.
Okay.
So you're going to have three choices there. Do you want that choker street in there?
I guess we might as well if we have the funding or they, excuse me, if the cost of the generator is half, then we might have money for that, the choker lanes as well.
So perhaps the end of your resolution, the recommendation of council is to do this dependent on final cost, depending on costing and availability of, so sorry, Matt, what's the limit that we can apply for? Unlimited? Or Adam?
So it's $1.99, and I think Matt just left the meeting.
Yeah. So, and we'll add the end of it, so you've got your generator, you've got the Eastview Drive sidewalk, and then you've got the choker accessible sidewalks, dependent on availability of funding. Depending on availability of the upset.
Depending, I guess, on the cost of our first choice, I suppose.
Yep.
Well, do I have a mover and seconder for that?
generally, you're voting to have council recommend to do these 3 projects, within the confines of the funding envelope.
Yeah.
Remember that, Tasha, that was really good wording.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, so that's the gist of it.
But I guess we're only allowed to apply for 2 projects, though, if I understand from, was it Adam there? I think if I read the application process there, if you are allotted between $100,000 and $500,000, you're allowed to apply for 2 projects. So that, what we've got in our motion currently is we've got 3 projects.
Okay,
That don't work. So
Which 2 do you want?
unless there's something I'm missing there, I see Adam's hand is in the air.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, through the active transport application process, we could bundle potentially both the choker lanes, accessible sidewalk, and the Eastview project, as that would all fall within the confines of active transportation. So with that, we could still do it under the 2 application maximum and still be within the threshold. However, once we have direction from this committee and council, we will be circulating a note to the ministry to ensure that we are on side with the application process, but that is our understanding at this point.
Okay, that's good.
so
Thank you.
Choker and Eastview Drive will go together in the second and further that. They will be bundled to form one project.
Right.
Matt, you good with
Okay.
that? Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay,
Everyone
clear.
on the level? All right, can I have a mover and a seconder for this resolution?
I'll let Mr. Yake move it. I'll second it.
That sounds good to me.
Yes, I've
All
been
in
told.
favor? Great.
That was quick.
That was good discussion, though. I mean, we have to be sure what we want to do as a committee. So great. I guess there are no deputations. Do you want to speak to the response framework at all, Matt? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, through you, Chair McCabe. Yeah, as a staff, I would suggest we're struggling as it relates to, we're in the orange right now, but whether we go to the red, and every week that's kind of out there. I think some of the response framework that I wanted to discuss is currently the messaging that we're sending out, which I'm okay with, but I wanted to share it with this committee. And if there's any issues, then that's on me. But I'll just read through the email that kind of we've been sending people as we're in orange. And if we move to red, things change too, right? But the message we're sending is, unfortunately at this time, while we remain in the orange zone at the risk of moving to red, we are only renting to those who live in our region and have regular previous rentals of ice within the township of Wellington North. Once we are back in yellow-green, we're open to more types of rentals. However, we continue to follow the provincial guidelines to avoid travel between higher zones and lower zones, for example, orange to yellow. Then we give a link to an Ontario government COVID, and we just say thanks. Thanks. But we have been saying no to, say, Kitchener, Waterloo, Brampton people who have been calling us, and I just wanted to share that with that committee because that's been consistent with the direction I've given the department, which anyway I own. And if this committee thinks differently, I'm willing to have that conversation too.
I guess that kind of opens up. I know, Matt, you and I kind of tossed it around, but it's not that I wouldn't say we're being discriminating against anyone, but I think we're keeping our community safe by keeping our rentals into our own borders, so to speak.
If I could comment, Mr. Chair, I think absolutely Matt is doing the right thing, and his staff. It's been very clear, I think, from the province that they don't want people traveling from one zone to another, and this is just another way of discouraging that. The only thing, and I'm sure Matt is aware of it, if, you know, a group from Brampton finds a buddy that lives in Wellington North, that buddy can rent the ice, and then all of a sudden you've got a dozen or more people coming up from Brampton or Kitchener or whatever.
I think only if they're a previous renter, though, if that's what I understand.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nuances there, but certainly I think the sentiment to keep the community safe is absolutely imperative. Yep.
I totally agree with you, Brian. And I know Guelph, Mayor Cam has said almost something similar to that, like stay the hell out of our areas while we get through this. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so a challenging situation that as staff we've had to deal with is, again, someone who lives in Wellington North but hasn't been a regular renter. You know, we're not jumping out of the seat to rent to them right now just because we're not as familiar with them. But the whole thing could be seen as very subjective, and I understand that. I think it's very hard. And I would just share that as those are some of the things that, again, frontline folks are dealing with that make it hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I can recognize that. It would be hard for frontline staff, especially those answering the phones in direct contact with the public. But I know it's going to be tough, but I think we got to hold that line as well as we might fade into another color level. Dan, what are you thinking?
Oh, I agree 100%, Matt, with the way you and your staff are handling it. I mean, it's easy to defend. It's very easy to defend from our part and your part. And I think the way that again, how you and your staff have handled it has been very good. And I don't think you need to worry that you don't have that support. I think that support comes from this committee. I think it comes from the local councils, and everybody understands. So, I think carry on the way you have been, and we'll deal with any extreme issues if we have to. But just the way you've handled it has been extremely good.
I would echo that too, and I think you have our full support as a committee, and probably I'm not speaking out of turn for our council or Southgate, but we have to, our first and foremost objective is to keep our people safe. And I think if that's what we have to do, it's a hard line, like you said, Dan, but we've got to hold that line. And I know it's going to be hard for our staff to answer those calls, but they're not alone, and they'll have our full support as well. So
I guess if I could, Mr. Chair, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask Matt. I presume, or you shouldn't do that, but I presume that there would be an exception made for regular renters of ice from Southgate.
go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. Through you, Chair McCabe. I think any regular renters we're good with, but again, if a regular rent or if someone who's never rented from us from Priceville calls up, we're not going to be super keen.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Just one last comment, I guess maybe to you, Tom. I know that even some of the regular renters have decided that they're not going to, continue to rent during this issue. I know the guys, the Sunday morning guys that I play hockey with, like they've decided, I think, that they're not gonna risk it this year. So, I think they realize the situation as well. So, but let's just carry on. I think we've got a good handle on the way it's going and what's being said.
I think it'd be pretty generous to call Dan what he plays hockey. It's more like shuffleboard on ice.
I'll take
Go ahead,
that
Tom. You were going to say something there?
I'll take that as a compliment.
Dan's probably moving to curling now. You can stand up on that ice. But you're exactly right, Dan. A lot of our groups, our minor sports groups and our adult groups are having troubles getting people out. They're cautious, they're concerned. The group you talked about, lower in numbers. Our rec league in Arthur, lower in numbers too there. They're down to about half their size. So yeah, it's a lot of people are being very cautious, and it's a good thing. Good thing and a bad thing, but we'll continue on and hopefully we move back a space at some place instead of going to the red.
Absolutely.
Well said. Thanks, Tom, and thanks for that quick update. Matt, do you have anything further on this?
I don't think anything further unless Tom or Mandy have anything they'd want to say further, but I sort of think that's an update. We're constantly watching to see if we go to red, things change. But we're hoping, to Tom's point, we're, steady or moving the opposite direction. But every day is a different adventure.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt. And thanks for the discussion. Any more questions, Dan or Brian?
No.
Great. Thank you. We don't have any deputations. There's no ad hoc committee updates, so we'll move on to the reports. And it looks like you're up with the Mount Forest Ag Society lease agreement, Matt.
Yep. Thank you, Chair McCabe. And really, this one's just to advise the committee that the Mount Forest Agricultural Society agreement comes due in April. Staff met with the Ag Society in fall, just to let them know that this is coming up. They were invited to today's meeting, but they were unable to attend. They've put forward kind of what their wants are. Staff has put forward a report that we think makes sense from a township standpoint. And the resolution just speaks to bringing back a draft report to this committee. So other than that, I'm willing to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions from Councillor Milne or Councillor Yake? Go ahead, Dan.
Just, I guess, Matt, in regards to your report that comes back, I guess one of the things that I don't know, I guess I hear is the issue in around parking and that type of thing when events are going on over there, whether it's auction sales, Fur and Feather Show, which hasn't gone on for this year, but auction sales, it seems like parking is just, it's helter skelter over there. So it may be something that they need to address in a new agreement and see where that goes.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yep. Yeah, I know even when baseball happens, parking is a challenge on the fairgrounds, and there is a letter in this agenda as it relates to a customer complaint. I don't know what the silver bullet is as it relates to how that gets resolved. But it is a concern, and certainly there are people who park in that fairgrounds, and it kind of, yeah, it's not really set up for parking, but people do that.
Matt, what kind of timeline are you kind of looking for on an agreement? I think the last one was quite a lengthy one. I'd be willing to maybe look at this and hopefully sign an agreement with them through council. But maybe I would put forth maybe recommending a 4-year, or at least aligning it with the Victory Church agreement, so that we can kind of just, in an efficiency way, just put them all together. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the last agreement was 25 years with no termination clause. Staff is not recommending that. The Agricultural Society has put in a 7-year ask with a termination clause of 2 years. I think staff is very open to understanding what committee thinks is the best option, but a 4-year or aligning it with Victory Church makes a lot of sense to me. I think that potentially means a pretty short first term. I'd have to look at the Victory Church agreement to be 100% on that, but it might mean a 2 or 3 year first term, and then getting into that cycle, if you will. But
Right. What's the committee think? Timeline?
I'm thinking that if it was aligned with the council term, like put it the renewal date in the, I don't know, the year after the election. If you worded it something like that, then yeah, the first term is going to be pretty short, but it could be an automatic renewal. But you know, it's up for review every 4 years, something like that. I think, and a 1-year cancellation clause, to my mind, would be quite sufficient. But I'm not sure why the Ag Society wants it 2 years, but that's for them to describe.
Right.
The only other point I might ask is regarding the parking. Is there any particular reason why they would need to park on the infield, so to speak? Like, why can't they use the parking lot that's, I guess it's directly north of the older or the Victory Church there?
Great question.
Would it not be as simple? I mean, nothing simple, but would it not be as simple as literally barricading and restricting parking or any vehicle getting onto the infield except for, you know, fur and feather or events of that nature?
I don't think that's a bad idea, but yeah, I don't know how we address that without, like you say, closing off and making it inaccessible. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I think that when it comes to events that are there, I don't think that parking is really on the top of their list. They just have their event, and then it's just a free for all, right? There's no guidance, there's no signage, there's nothing, no direction. It's just, again, it's a free for all, and you park where you want, on top of who you want, whatever you want to do, and away you go. So I think that's one thing that has to be addressed when there's events there. There has to be a parking plan or some kind of way of
like signage.
There's several things, Steve, that could be used to help organize the parking disarray over there. So,
and is that something, Tom, that we could do for event parking? I'll let you, sorry, go ahead.
I'm the one that brought this here because the complaint came to me and I wasn't sure how to fix it. I was going to some larger minds, hoping I would get some good feedback here. It's an issue for baseball too, and the splash pad over there now. We've put a park in, a splash pad, we have a ball diamond. So on a busy night, there's issues with that. When the Ag Society has their auction sales over there, it's an issue with that. We do have no unauthorized motor vehicle signs up posted at every entrance. The signs aren't working, obviously. So I was hoping that you guys would help find a solution or a common ground that we could do without just closing everything off over there.
All right, thank you, Tom. Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, I think the idea of putting in parking north of the former arena in the actual agreement maybe encourages the agricultural society to do that. Like Tom says, when we have soccer, when we have baseball, there's challenges to the parking piece there, and I don't know what the silver bullet is.
Go ahead, Dan.
Tom, did you say larger minds?
Yeah, Dan, I put you in that category.
He wasn't looking at you, Dan.
Thanks, Tom.
He was talking to staff.
I just think that they, in conjunction with the township, have to have a plan. And I think that can be developed into wherever the parking might be or where it shouldn't be. And I think that if they have to use some of their own staff to help organize parking at events, then that so be it. But I think there has to be a plan, because the way it is now is just we're gonna need to get an emergency vehicle in there. Something's gonna happen, and it's not gonna be. It won't happen the way it should. So I think it can be worked out. It's just I don't think it should be up to our staff to be over there organizing parking. for an auction sale or, you know, whatever the case may be. So I think we can come up with a plan, but I think they need to be more involved in the whole thing.
Like a conjoint plan through them and let their volunteers
Absolutely, yeah.
take care of the parking. Can we add that into any agreement, Matt? Like, do you need any more direction than that, or go ahead?
Yep, I was gonna say, member Milne looks like he wants to speak, but then I can chime in.
Well, thanks, Matt. I was just going to say, currently, if something was to happen bad on that fairground, you know, with a vehicle, whose liability insurance would pick that up? Would it be the Ag Society or would it be the townships?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so the Ag Society is on the hook for supplying us insurance, but I mean, ultimately, the township's got deep pockets and they would be named in the suit as well, so.
Right,
yeah.
right. I'm, yeah, and I recognize that. But what I guess where I'm going with that is maybe something in the agreement that the event organizers are ultimately responsible for having a, I don't know, call it a safety plan or whatever you want to call it, so that they are held responsible for crowd control, parking, whatever you want to call it. And they have to submit that plan to the township along with their event, or
Well, I even
I
think
don't know.
going even further with that, Brian and Dan brought it up, is making sure that there is always a lane open for emergency vehicles as well.
Well, ultimately, the responsibility has to fall on the group organizing the event, or maybe it lands on the Ag Society. That's their bailiwick to make sure that the event organizers have that kind of thing in place. Because I guess it's, you know, if somebody has an auction there, they contract with the Ag Society, not the township. Is that correct?
That's
Yeah.
my
So
understanding, yes.
so the Ag Society ultimately, written through this agreement, they should be held responsible for whatever goes on over there.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, and thanks, Chair McCabe. And I think I understand what's being said. Right now, I think we don't have a ton of visibility on even, you know, when there's an auction sale going on and things like that. I think the Ag Society will push back if we were to ask for that kind of visibility. But again, ultimately, it's up to this committee and council to, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I think at the end of the day, the township gets sued all the time because it's our property. So we're going to be named and we've got deep pockets. But I think the conversation that's happened as it relates to trying to, figure out what the best wording is in the agreement to make them as absolutely responsible as we can makes a lot of sense in my worldview.
So do you need any more kind of direction for that other than what's listed on the resolution?
I think the only other comment I was going to make is like some of those bigger items, like the one we just talked about and the idea of the parking item, probably as a township staff, and we don't need direction, but we would reach out to the Ag Society and say, this was the conversation we had this morning as it relates to the agreement, just so they're put on notice. Because I wouldn't, like, we're not trying to surprise them or anything. I think we're just trying to work with them. But if those are items that are important, I think it's important to communicate it to them, and maybe they have a solution that we haven't thought of. That's my only comment in addition to the
if I could jump in there, I was just going to say, Mr. Chair, I agree with Matt 100% there. If we go back, or the staff go back to the Ag Society and say, look, this has been identified as a problem, and everyone involved is concerned that something bad might happen, somebody might get hurt or whatever. What are your proposals to mitigate the issues here? And maybe they'd come up with something that they're going to police the thing better. I don't know, but I would give the Ag Society the opportunity to solve the problem themselves and incorporate that into the agreement.
Good idea.
Yep, you're okay with that, Dan? That'd be good.
Oh,
Okay.
that's That's a great idea.
All righty. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I just wanted to make one last comment, was that I was on council when that last agreement was signed.
Are you,
Oh,
are you,
Lord.
are you a
So we can see-
dinosaur?
How we've advanced.
So we can see what the larger minds of the day did.
Now it's going into wisdom, Dan. You've been there that long.
Is that what they call institutional memory?
Yeah, there's a term for it.
We're going to lay this problem at your feet, Dan.
Oh, right on.
Well, that's good. Thank you for that. I have a recommendation here that the Rec, Parks, and Leisure Committee received report OPS 2020-037, being a report on the township's agreement with the Mount Forest Ag Society, and further that the Rec, Parks, Leisure Committee recommend that the County of Wellington North direct staff to prepare a draft agreement consistent with this report, our conversation, and the conversation at committee. I'm going to say, Dan, because you've been on this legacy for a while, that you will move it. And Brian, if you don't mind seconding it.
Certainly.
All in favor? Thank you. All right, Matt, over to you with the Trillium Foundation application.
Okay, thank you, Chair McCabe. I would throw this one over to Mandy if she's willing to talk to it, because Mandy has done all the work. So I've basically done, I'm not going to say nothing, but not too much. So that would be my ask.
Go ahead, Mandy. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt, to you, Chair McCabe. So the OTF Resilient Communities Fund the deadline is tomorrow at 5 p.m. You can request an amount from 5,000 to 150,000, and the grant term is up to 1 year. So we are applying under the outcome of renovate spaces to meet the needs of the organization to be able to safely deliver programs and services and to adapt to new ways of working. So our application will be for the Arthur and Area Aquatic Center, and it requests approximately $19,000 worth of renovations. These renovations include upgraded foyer and reception area, including the installation of new desks and sneeze guard to ensure the safety of all staff and patrons. We would be installing 2 outdoor showers and doing the concrete work with drainage. And we would install a new emergency exit to support flow for the pool deck as well. So we focused this application again on the Arthur and Area Aquatic Center, and the deadline that we have put in is that it would be completed, all work would be completed by early June.
Okay, thank you for that, Mandy. Any questions or comments from the committee?
No.
When did you say the deadline was, Mandy? Is it the next couple of weeks, did you say? Oh, sorry.
Tomorrow at 5 p.m. So
I just think
yes, I'd like to
you're
thank
cutting
the
out there
director.
for me. Sorry. Good.
Tight lines.
Sorry.
We'll get that under the wire then. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Matt, do you have any?
Thank you.
Then that. All right. Well, then I'll stay with you, Mandy, and we'll go on to the Perfect Mind Rec software update.
All right, thank you, Chair McCabe. So as you will recall, the township is currently implementing the Perfect Mind software, which replaces CLASS. So Perfect Mind will support staff and residents. I'm sorry if my audio is acting up here. It's going to support staff and residents by offering online bookings and online registrations for programs. Currently, we're in the testing phase of implementation, and we'll have online registrations available to the public for summer programming. In addition, staff will begin using the software for facility rentals in the coming week. One item to note is that during the implementation phase, we uncovered that we will not be able to apply an out-of-resident fee to programs. So currently we apply an $18 charge to non-residents for swimming lessons. And in 2019, that was approximately $1,754 in revenue. And then just on top of that, I would also like to thank Tasha and Tom for their work on this project. It's been a lot of back-end configuring, so thank you to them.
Thanks, Mandy. Sorry, go ahead, Matt. You go first.
Yep, just as further comments, and I appreciate Mandy doing the summary. The out-of-town fee has traditionally been paid by the customer, with the exception of Southgate, which Southgate traditionally paid that fee sort of in a back end kind of way. But I think with Perfect Mind, it's going to be too challenging to set that up given what the technology is. And I think we want to encourage use of our facilities rather than, creating cost for people who may or may not live specifically in Wellington North. And anyway, those are the only comments I wanted to make. And yeah, Mandy's done a lot of work on Perfect Mind, and we're right around the corner from implementing it. So it's pretty exciting.
Excellent. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to say that we certainly won't charge anybody that wants to come and use the Holstein Pond if you don't charge our folks extra to use the pool. No problem. Fair deal.
Only if you stock it.
True.
Still got that
And
rope?
don't be bothering the geese either. But other than that, we're cool. We're good.
Excellent.
Still got the rope swing?
All right, we don't have any more comments or questions. Thank you for that, Mandy. We will move on to the next item, and it's the budget 2021 discussion, and that's over to you, Matt.
Yep. Thank you, Chair McCabe. I just wanted to put the budget the way the conversation has been to date with council. I think December 14th, we're expecting as a staff that council is going to endorse the budget the way it is. But I wanted to put it in front of this committee. And I guess specifically the reason I wanted to put it in front of this committee is as a staff, the floor in Arthur needs to be done, and we are going to work, and we're appreciative of council having endorsed that. I think as a staff, we want to work with our user groups and make sure that we coordinate that project appropriately. What that means is that may be a spring of 2021 project, or it may be a spring of 2022 project. And I just wanted to be upfront with this committee that that's kind of what staff are thinking of as it relates to rebuilding the Arthur arena floor. And again, very appreciative the council has supported those monies. And the reality is if the floor fails, like we either rebuild it or repair it, or we don't have an arena. I just wanted to kind of manage expectations that I think we as staff, we need to talk to lacrosse and things like that and try to manage their expectations about how they're using it. And it might all be a moot point if we're all sitting in our houses in the spring of 2021, in which case, staff will be doing their best to move forward as quickly as possible. But I wanted to have that conversation, but also wanted to throw the budget in front of you folks and see if there was any questions that I could help with.
Thanks for that, Matt. I think it makes good sense to get the floor done if we're going to go ahead and use or do the pipe rehabilitation as well. So, is there any questions or comments for Matt on the budget items that are listed for recreation going ahead?
No, I'm good with the way it is.
All right, thank you. So I have a recommendation that the Rec and Parks and Leisure Committee receive report OPS 2020-036, being a report on the proposed 2021 rec capital budget for information. And Brian, I would say you have moved this, if you're all right with that.
I am. If I could just ask a quick question of Matt before I do that.
Yep, go ahead.
Matt, what is the percentage increase of this capital budget over last year's budget?
Not very much. I think under 2%. Under 2%.
That's clear.
Under 2%. I'm gonna say.
Perfect.
I wish the treasurer. I don't know if Karen knows.
No, that's fine.
Has Adam left
Adam
left the building?
Adam has left the building. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's under 2%, and it might even be. It's under 2%. I think.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Then
Sorry, Brian. I should know
No,
that.
no.
But
No, that's fine. That makes this committee look good compared to, say, roads or something like that. Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks. I have the recommendation is moved by Councillor Milne and hopefully seconded by you, Councillor Yake. All in favor? Thank you very much. And you're still on the block here, Matt, with the continued facility closures, the Arthur Senior and Damascus Community Hall, if you want to quickly run through that.
Yep, thanks, Chair McCabe. And these ones are pretty straightforward. I just wanted to bring awareness to this committee that as staff, we've sent letters to each of these groups, just in essence, canceling things till the end of February. And staff will reevaluate that late January and see what we think. But yeah, if there's, I mean, it's an easy story if at the end of January, everything opens up. But I think we've got to be on record as far as, yeah, things aren't the same as they were previously. And I don't think we should be endorsing those kind of rentals.
And I think both of those groups are fairly cooperative with staff and with the township as well.
Yep.
In knowing that it's not a great idea to open up and have gatherings like that.
Yep.
Would that be?
Absolutely, Steve.
Any questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve. Matt, I note here that the township is recommending that all bookings and programming within these facilities be canceled until the end of February. Ultimately, does the township have the hammer to lock the door? That might be an awkward question, but I'm going to ask, well, I did ask it anyway.
Go ahead.
Yep, it is an awkward question. I would suggest that the Arthur Seniors have an agreement with us. So I think the Arthur Seniors, we own the building, but they have a lease agreement with us. And Damascus Hall, there's a group in Damascus that kind of manages that hall for the township. So I think the wording was deliberate.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
Just a quick question, Brian. How is Southgate handling anything like this?
We've directly instructed our staff to cancel any bookings, and the facilities are not open.
Okay, thank you. Dan, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I think it's a good, we have to do what we have to do, and it's easy to defend if somebody gets in your face about it. So just again, Matt, you and your staff are doing a good job at making sure that groups know what's going on and what possible dates are what. So just keep up that good work.
Great, thank you. And I'll even endorse that as well. So again, it's a tough line to hold, but we have to do that for the sake and health and safety of our residents.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. Heading on, we're right on schedule. Holy. Any new business? I'll start with you, Councillor Mill. Councillor
Nope,
Yake.
no new business here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Yake.
Nope, none with me either.
I have none. Any Tom or Matt? Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I would just take every opportunity I can to say that, frontline staff that are dealing with things right now, it's hard. There's lots of uncertainty. There's lots of uncertainty from a management standpoint as far as how things look a week from now versus today. But I'm very appreciative of the team and kind of what they're bringing to the plate each week. So I'd be remiss not to say that, given the opportunity. Thank you, Chair McCabe.
Thank you for that, Matt. Tom, you turned your video on. I didn't know if you wanted to.
I was just gonna echo what Matt had said. The anxiety with sitting on the fence here, the possibility of going red, it gets everybody a little bit anxious, all the frontline staff, including us. So yeah, it's hopefully things turn around for us.
I hope so too. I hope we don't have to go into red in the next couple of days. And I know it's not the best news when Wellington North in Wellington County is leading in the cases and active cases. So again, that's an added pressure for our staff and everyone on staff, not just rec, but it goes all the way through. So I commend everyone on our staff as well. If there's nothing further, sorry, Mandy, I just saw you pop up there.
Sorry, Chair McCabe, thank you very much. I would also just like to thank all of our volunteers that have come forward to help with the trails committees in both Arthur, Mount Forest, and West Luther. We have seen increased usage of our trail systems, and we have volunteers who are going out helping to pick up any debris or garbage that is being left behind and notify staff if there's an issue with trees being down, etc. So just really want to thank our community for continuing to use our trail system and to working with us and supporting us in ensuring that they're open and available to everyone.
That's excellent. I'm glad we've had a good response with the with the advertising for the volunteer positions that we were looking for. So that's great. That's, and again, a great initiative by staff to reach out and get more volunteers. So with that, before I read this recommendation, I'm thinking that we could, next meeting, we have, we usually skip January, so I'm thinking of February 2nd at 8:30. That's obviously the first Tuesday in February, if everyone was on the committee is in agreement with that.
Fine with me.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. So I have a recommendation here that the Township of Wellington North Rec Parks and Leisure Committee meeting of December 8th be adjourned at 9:42 a.m. and that we will meet next on February 2nd, 2021. All in favor? Or sorry, I should get a mover and a seconder, but we'll go this way. I would take this time too. I'm not sure if I'll see you before Christmas or New Year's, Brian. Have a safe and happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'll probably see you again at council, so and the rest of staff as well. So, but thanks again, and thanks very much, Brian, for your commitment to this committee as well. I know it takes time out of your schedule, and we appreciate your input as well.
We're all busy, so nobody's more busy than anyone else. So I want to take the opportunity to thank the Wellington North staff, the residents of Southgate. Certainly appreciate the professionalism that they've displayed in the last almost a year now of keeping everybody safe and making sure that the facilities are available for use. So thank you very much, and again thank you, Steve. And I'll wish everyone here a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. And with that, I call the meeting adjourned. Everyone have a great day. Be safe.
Thank you all.
Stay healthy.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye now.